Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to Matt Chat, and we're with today's guest, Christian Derr, my coach, and black belt under John Jock Machado.
Thank you very much for having me.
Man, I appreciate you coming on here, brother.
You're awesome. Yeah, man. On that topic that we're talking about, Einstein's got a great quote. He said, "Every child is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, you're gonna think he's an idiot." Basically, I'm paraphrasing. We'll have to get the real quote from Einstein, but
Yeah, man, that same Sir Ken Robinson guy was talking about similar things. How
yeah.
Creativity is so diverse and we're
Yeah.
so unique, but we only value certain things because that's when you look at our education system for the longest time, they're the same everywhere you went. They only valued what would get you in the industrial age and what you needed for that.
Yeah, man. It's true. There was a great talk that he did with the TED Talk or whatever. But make sure you understand something, man. Like it's like a jiu-jitsu tournament too. We set the rules up a certain way to promote the submission. Every jiu-jitsu tournament in the world wants you to submit your opponent,
Yes.
but we don't want you to injure the opponent, and so we have to have the rules.
Right.
Now, whatever rule you pick, the organization, the IBJJF or NAGA or Metamours or wherever now, okay? Whatever rules you put down, the people that play the game are going to play the rules to try to win. You understand? And so sometimes it's boring for people to watch like some high-level black belts go in the IBJJF because they have advantages and penalties and stuff like this. But you got to understand, they're trying to promote the action. That's why they put them in there. Of course, I don't agree with some of the stuff either. I would much rather them have submission only and heel hooks and
They're trying to find the balance between appealing to the artists that do it and the people paying the bills. The fans.
Yes, exactly. Now, here's what I'm saying is the schools are doing the exact same thing. You understand? So their job is to educate people. Well, education is so much, of course, creativity. There's math, science, reading. You could educate somebody a million different ways. But what's the best way to educate a child to where they can go out and be a good member of society? Okay, so they have to learn how to read. They have to know how to do arithmetic. They have to know how to do certain things. Of course, maybe what Kenneth Robbins was saying, that we value certain things above others right now. But that's just the way it's been set up so far. Maybe it does need to change. But it doesn't change, to me, most of the time, change doesn't happen by, man, I just see a lot of, I try not to talk about politics a lot or even the problems in society a lot because, if it's that big of a problem, man, why don't you go do something about it? You know what I mean? If you can sit there and talk about it, of course, we can sit here and bag on the education system or what you pick the topic. We could just say, man, these guys are so jacked up. But let me tell you something. There are hard-working, passionate teachers right now. And when you talk like that, you're talking about these hardworking people who've dedicated their life, just like you dedicated your life to jiu-jitsu. We both dedicated our life to jiu-jitsu. These people dedicated their life to educating children, and they're trying to do the best they can. And to say, oh man, the Common Core now? Oh, Common Core, this time. Most people, they're fighting against Common Core. They don't even know what it is. I mean, they think, and then some of the people on the fringe, they think this Common Core is like indoctrination, or just like, why can't we just teach kids this? It's like, man, a bunch of people got together to do this because the education system is not working. So they're trying to fix it. You know what I mean? Yeah. You're complaining because it's not working. But then when people try to fix it, like, what are these guys doing? It's like a big deal. It's like, oh man, they're trying to do something with it's a conspiracy.
I think I'm guessing here. We'd have to ask him.
Yeah.
But I don't think he was trying to bag on teachers. He
No,
was
no, of course not.
He was a teacher himself. He
Of
was
course,
a professor.
yeah.
And it wasn't even directly aimed at us in the United States. It was a worldwide thing. He said he had traveled the world, and he says the way the school systems are set up is to produce college professors.
Yes.
And we're forgetting about the arts and the body. How about the body? The body is important. And a lot of people are being told, and this is his main worry, a lot of people are being told, don't worry about that. You can't get a job doing that.
Right.
That's the wrong message.
Right.
We're killing the spirit of America by telling people, hey, look. No, we want those people with those talents to find them and then go out so we can see them. The whole, what else? Why else are we here other than to share our abilities and our talents with each other?
Well, There's a great quote. It's by, I forgot the guy's name, Harold. This guy was a professor at Howard College, I think his name. I have to, we need somebody like Rogan. It's like, look this up while I'm talking about it, right?
We'll get Rodney to Google some stuff here.
He said, don't ask what the world needs, ask what makes you come alive.
Right.
Because what the world needs is people who have come alive.
Right.
And so, but Mike, it's funny, bro, because, you know, we both love what we do. We set our life up. We sacrifice a lot to do what we love.
But my point is how many people, because the way the system's been set up, never discover this. They never figure out what they were here for.
Brother, listen, it's a lot of people, but the majority of people are not like you and me. This is a simple fact. The majority of people just want to go along and get along. I mean, I really feel that way. I mean, I think like the majority of people I've met in my life, they don't have that passion for something. Or maybe they have the passion, it's just not for, you know, they have passion maybe for their kids, for example, but that involves, okay, I'm just going to go to work, I'll be a bus driver for 40 years. As long as my kids are provided for, that's what I'm passionate about. You know what I mean? It's kind of like that. And so I don't think, there's lots of things I think the kids should be learning in schools that maybe we don't teach them, you know, like what to do with their money. I think this is a big thing. I'm less concerned about jiu-jitsu being in schools than I am about like somebody like Dave Ramsey or somebody should have, you know, people need to know about money and how to take care of their money. You know what I mean? This was never taught. This is not taught to most people. You know what I mean? Like this was never taught to me. And so we have to grow up and we have to figure it out. You know what I mean?
I guess I disagree with you a little bit. I do agree with that money.
Yeah.
That we're supposed to prepare them for life.
Yeah.
But the problem is we have no idea what the world's going to be like in 3 years, much less in the 20 years it's going to take for these guys to educate.
You know, Robinson said this too, but I disagree with that, bro. We do know what it's going to be like. You know what the next 5 years is going to be like? It's going to be very similar to the last 5 years. That's what it's going to be like. There's going to be some ups and there's going to be some downs.
Yeah, but the technology and the landscape and the jobs and what your PhD means to them, to the, you know, technology's changing so fast that.
But Mike, because you said we don't know what it's going to be like, well, we have to prepare them for something. You understand?
Yes.
So if you don't know, let's do the best we can. That's all we can do any time. But let's do the best we can do right now. We have. Should
we be preparing them for a job, or should we be preparing them to go out and create a business? It's the American dream. I don't think ever was about jobs. I think it was about pursuing your happiness, which would be finding your passion, discovering your talent, and then pursuing with everything you have.
Most people do not want to start a business, man. I mean, brother, you've been in business for it's 9 months now. You've been in business before this, okay? This is very difficult. I mean, let me tell you something. 15 years ago, 20 years ago, I've always wanted to own my own business, okay? I didn't know it was going to be a martial arts gym. But I've always wanted to be my own boss type thing because I felt very similar. And I used to tell people, like, I was in the military at the time, and I was like, man, you know, I have an idea. I was like, man, I'm gonna do this. It's like, man, it takes a lot of money to do that. I was like, well, it takes a lot of money to buy this stuff, but maybe we can lease it. There's always a way to start something. And this is personal experience from you. There's always a way if you're willing to commit. There's a way. And just to find that way. And I used to be an evangelist for people to start their own business. And somebody like those, I was like, man, you should get out of the military and go do that. Wouldn't that be great? And but now I'm on the other side because I got out of the military and I did it. And I mean, it's very rewarding. And for me, it was the right choice. But now I'm not as evangelistic or evangelic when it comes to that. If somebody came to me and said they want to start their own business, I would talk to them long and hard about what it's going to take and how much you have to sacrifice and stuff like that. I would make sure I don't say, yeah, you should go do it. You should go do it.
I do.
No, I know.
And I know that I tell people all the time, I said, I'm the brokest business guy you're going to meet. I ain't got a dime.
Yes.
But
that's who it was, man. Howard Thurman. Is that what it was?
Howard Thurman.
Oh, man. Let's see.
That's awesome, man.
No, we got somebody like that. Look at this.
But see, I look at what you're saying, and I can't help but wonder how much that was influenced by the system that we both went to school in, where it was, don't worry about that. because you can't get a job doing that, because that's what I was told my whole life. And then I watched my son struggle. He should be drawing, painting, and creating, and they should be teaching him and exposing him to all the kind of artists throughout history, because he's an artist. He needs to know basic math to balance a checkbook, and he needs to be able to read and write so he can get along with life. But he needs to be perfecting his talent, which is art, and they don't. That's not in there. It's not part of the curriculum.
But I agree. I mean, even when I start, man, in fact, it's usually the people closest to you that tell you don't do it. But it's coming from a place of love. They want you to grow up, and they want you to have a nice life, and they don't understand it. And some of them are speaking from, just a lot of these people that are saying this have failed. They started and they failed. And it's like, man, and some of it took their whole heart, man. I mean, some people lost their whole life savings. Some people worked 20 years, and at the end of 20 years, they didn't have nothing. And so it's like, for his kid, he's like, man, you're going to go to school and be a doctor, because I know doctors make money. You understand? So.
Yeah, but did that kid want to be a doctor?
I understand, but you understand what the parent is doing is want the best for the child. It might not be the best.
They should be discovering what their kid wants to do and who their kid is.
You're experiencing it now. My kids are a little bit older, and so I have a daughter. I have two daughters. One, they both graduated college. One decided she wanted to be a hairstylist. She's always been into that. I wanted her to go do that after high school. But her mom was like what you're saying. Oh, you know, listen, you need to go to college to get a degree.
To get a job that you don't want to do.
And it's like, baby, you don't have to. It's like, you go do what you're passionate about, because that's what you know. The idea about doing what you're passionate about is you get good at it, because you don't care. It's not work. You'll spend all your time at it, and you'll get good at it. But let me tell you something, bro. Just because you're good at something, it doesn't mean you're going to make a good living at it. That's a myth. In fact, Michael Gerber wrote the myth about this. You could be the best tower hand in the world.
And it's hard. It's a hard life.
Exactly.
And we need, that's a company, that's a whole organization we could do a whole podcast on. People dying, people not aware of it, people setting safety standards that's not in the business. They should have no business. They're not on the towers. They don't live the life. Why are they coming up with rules and policy that are killing people every day? Yeah. But we're distracted.
Well, we are distracted, man. But, you know, Maya Angelou has a great quote. I think I get it right. And I need writing probably somebody to check all these quotes, because I just paraphrase them. But she says, "Do the best you can do right now, and when you know better, do better."
That's all I ask for people to do a little bit. They need to realize that they're a part of a republic, and yes, life is a little spoiled sometimes. But you guys, you have to read, man, and you have to read both sides. You can't be, I'm red team, I'm blue. You need to be Team America. You need to get on board, and you need to participate in this government. Yeah,
man. You know, it's funny, bro. I was never interested in politics all the way up till I was maybe in the mid-30s. Man, I'm 42 now, and it was just never interested me at all. But when you get to like late 30s, I think that's when you really start becoming aware that, you know, you start appreciating more things more deeply.
Try opening a business in this economy.
Yeah.
It makes you think about it even more.
Yeah. And I tell the story sometimes. I know I told you before, but when I was working out in L.A. training at Jean Jacques, I was working in hotels and setting up like AV systems, like set up these mics and stuff like this for corporations, stuff like coming to have their annual meetings or whatever. And so one of the meetings I got to go to that really inspired me was the mayoral conference. So every year, all the mayors in the United States, they have a conference. Okay, and I'm talking about some are Republican, some are Democrat, and man, it was so cool to see, because here, this is not televised or anything like this, but it's all these mayors. I'm talking about hundreds and hundreds of mayors from little towns and big cities, and what they do is they have, you know, speakers, and they're talking about different things, but then they break out into different meeting rooms. Okay, in the meeting room, that might be anywhere from like 50 to 150 people in each room, and each room is divided into, and say each room, like the one I was in was like, your town's having a problem with homeless people. Okay, and so it's a problem everywhere. Some cities have dealt with it very effectively, and some people don't even know what to do. And so what happens is they get the people that have dealt with it effectively, and they give them say, hey, man, this is how we handled it. maybe you can do it in your town. Maybe you have to switch it a little bit. Maybe you have to change it a little bit. But this is how we did it, and we don't have any homeless people or hardly any homeless people. And it was fascinating to me because there was no politics really involved. I mean, there was no like the Republicans and the Democrats. It was, I mean, and they were all acting like they were best buddies, man. It was crazy. I mean, it was crazy. Like I had never seen that. And I mean, it was so good. And I mean, it got me interested because to me, that's what government should be like jujitsu. Government is really there to solve problems. You understand? Like,
yes.
In my opinion.
Yes.
You know, there's a lot of problems in the government right now, but you know, we still live in like the best country in the world. I mean, the system's definitely broken, but it works 80% of the time. 80% of the time it works.
It's still working, even though it's hijacked.
And I know we say it's working. It's working for us white middle class guys. I mean, we were talking if there's different people on this podcast. It's like the system is not working.
Yeah, it depends on your perspective. Of where
exactly.
You're at.
You know, it depends on where you're at on the chain right now, man, on the ladder. But, you know, because there's definitely some things. But these things are happening, man. I think as we get younger people in Congress, you know, man, that's another thing too, man. A lot of these political jobs have become, they're not lifetime appointments, but they may as well be because the same people get elected over and over and over again. That's why people ask why not to change. Well, that's why. It's the same people doing it.
We need term limits.
Yeah, I mean, people think most politicians think when they get into the seat, their main job is to keep the seat.
Yes.
And I look, man, I mean, I'm sure there's some logic and reasoning behind it. But anyway, to me, that's what government's job is really fix problems. And government, and they do fix a lot of problems, man, but they create a lot of problems.
But what people forget is the government is made up of the people.
Yes.
And it's supposed to be a representative of the collective conscience. The reason I advocate martial arts in school is it takes a brave person to speak their mind. And it takes brave people for a republic to work. The reason our republic worked better after World War II is because it was made up of tough, hardened individuals that weren't afraid to speak their mind. We have to somehow create an environment where it creates brave, young people who aren't afraid to speak their mind and have the ability to not only speak their mind, but have conversations with people who disagree with them and quit hollering, screaming, and calling names.
Yes.
The art of the debate needs to be rechanged and redefined, and we need to teach people how to debate again.
Yeah, it's true, man. It's funny, you know, I just went somewhere and I saw a great quote from John Adams. John Adams was second president, I believe. But it says, one useless man is a shame. 2 is a law firm. And 3 is a Congress. Now, this is coming from a politician, you know what I mean? So it's kind of funny. It's hard, man, because there's so many problems. The problems are so diverse. And I truly believe this. Like, every generation has their own generational problem. Like, when you're talking about the what's known as the greatest generation in the 40s with World War II, they had their problems with, you know, communism, Hitler, this type of thing, fascism, that type of stuff.
They went out and they dealt with it.
Yes, but Mike, I mean, and like my grandfather was in that generation, and I revere my grandfather. You know, he's passed away, but I mean, this is the guy, the man, a man's man. You know, like John Wayne type guy.
I think of my dad, my grandpa, and it's like, dang, what happened to that? Where did that John Wayne toughness go? But
Mike, to me, every generation has those guys. There's not one and it's so funny because like we look at these guys coming up now, we're like, man, these guys, these new millennial guys, whatever, these guys, you know, I hear people talk about all the time how they're lazy and all this stuff like this, and it's so funny because I think back, it's like, man, that's what our older generation said about us, and it's not every generation preceding. It's like, you guys got it so easy now. You don't even know how easy you got it. I mean, we had to, you know, it's so funny, but it's just really not the truth. Every generation has the you know, men that you're talking about. Coach, of course it would be great if we could instill it more, but it's hard, Mike. It's hard. What we do is hard. People don't want to do hard stuff.
That's why I was saying at the beginning, it's not for everybody. Everybody should have a certain amount of self-defense in them. They should have that close to that blue belt level, but you've got to be passionate. You got to be a grappler. You got to have that inside you to make it to that black belt level. You know what I mean? It's not everybody.
Yeah, it's true. I mean,
musical talent is, you're almost born with it. It's not something necessarily you learn.
Well,
you learn how to do it better, but you're born with the ability.
Man, jiu-jitsu is so great, and it would be great if everybody knew jiu-jitsu. But I don't feel the way you feel. I'm glad it's not in the schools. I don't even like teaching, to be honest. I like keeping it all for myself. If I could, I'd teach all myself. I'm not teaching anybody anything because I mean, if you teach everybody jiu-jitsu, you know what I mean? Then I mean, it's not.
You
like
won't have any victims in society. The victim mentality will go away.
Mike, it's not true because you're teaching the bad people jiu-jitsu too. Do you understand?
But then people won't be bullied by bad people because not only do they know jiu-jitsu, all their friends then are looking at the bully, know jiu-jitsu, and the bully's like, oh, this just changed because these guys ain't scared to fight me, and they outnumber me.
Listen, man, it doesn't matter what you do. You're always going to have adversity in your life, and sometimes it's in the form of a bully. I don't really think, Rick Bigger loves bully. He thinks bullies are important.
They have created some great leaders.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, it's undeniable, but it's still something I think we should figure out a way to. I still believe this. You bring me a child, and I can bully-proof him. If you bring me all the kids, I won't. There won't be no bullies. They'll take care of it themselves. They won't need us adults to intervene for them no more.
You haven't had the experience yet of teaching a kid and then go out and being a bully. But you're going to have it. If you keep teaching kids, one of your kids, you're going to get a call one time and say, hey, does this such and such kid train with you? You're like, yeah. He said, well, you know what? He was bullying my kid on the bus. This happened to me a couple times. And I'm like, wow. You understand? So even though you think you're getting rid of the problem,
but those kids that they were fighting weren't training alongside them on the mat. They weren't at clinch with them. If that entire school system was at clinch training, it'd be a different story. It would have been a fight like when I was a kid. We got into fights. We never heard about bullies. We just fought. That's how we were raised. We're all country boys. We grew up in a little country town. We would get into a fist fight and be best friends the next day. There was no bully. There was no picking. We just fought.
Man, you know what's funny? The physical technique is what you're talking about.
There's a toughness that comes from it.
Yeah. But let me tell you something. Just the physical technique is not enough. Like I have several kids. One kid in particular I'm thinking about. He knows jiu-jitsu a little bit. You know what I'm saying? He's not bad.
Okay.
He still gets picked on because he doesn't want to engage. And I've had this with adults, okay? This happens, so this may even happen to you, or I'm sure a lot of people out there. You may have some skill. You may be a blue belt in jiu-jitsu, a purple belt. And a confrontation happens, a verbal confrontation happens, and not physical. It doesn't get turned physical, but you go home and you think about it. You think, man, I should have did this to the guy. I should have taken that. You
struggle with your ego.
You struggle with your ego, but here's the thing. It's like, it's important to teach when is it appropriate to engage. I mean, I've had women, Mike, come to me and say, and that know jiu-jitsu, that train some of the females that I've taught, and they would smoke guys on the mat, okay? Come to me and say, Coach, I was at work last week and somebody came into my work and they actually touched me. They touched my butt type thing. And I said, well, what'd you do? Because I know the person could thrash this guy pretty much. You know what I mean? And I didn't do anything. And they're feeling, they had this guilt complex inside, like they should have did something and they didn't do something, but they weren't sure. Do you understand? It's like,
I know exactly what you're talking about.
They were putting them in a situation that they were very uncomfortable with, and they didn't do anything about it. Not even verbally.
And this is what I'm talking about.
This is the toughest you're talking about.
Yeah, society's changed. People used to not put up with that.
Mike.
My dad would not hesitate. The thought of it wouldn't even cross his mind. If a man walked up and touched my mom's butt, that man would be knocked out.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't feel bad.
Yeah.
He wouldn't feel like a bully. He
wouldn't feel anger about it.
No, it would just be what you do.
Yeah.
And everybody in his generation would be like, that's what you do.
I disagree a little bit. I think your dad is really 10%. Those guys like my grandfather was very the same way. But that to me, it's just, you think that was the whole generation because that's who you had the most contact with, your father. So you think everybody in that era was like that. But it wasn't. It's only 10%. It's like it is now. Just like it's going to be in 20 years. 10% of the guys are going to be like that. 10% of the people. And maybe 10% of the women, or maybe less a little bit. Maybe not, probably 10% of the women too.
I know what you're saying, but we're talking about a lot of minority things here. I'm not saying that the kids have to train jujitsu 7 days a week, and it doesn't have to be full-blown sport jujitsu.
But
Basic
Mike,
combatives twice a week
they
in PE.
do this in China. They do it in Japan. They're trained martial artists. They had to make the kids do this. Do you understand? They still have bullies. They still have the same societal problems that we have.
But are they taught to speak their minds? Teaching a kid how to defend himself, you can't just say, this is how you beat somebody up. You have to tell them when it's okay. When is it okay for you to defend yourself? When is it all right? I had a kid the other day, the opposite of what you were just talking about. He was being bullied.
Yeah.
He was letting the kid beat him up. His
Yeah.
dad called me and says, hey, why is this happening?
Yeah. And he knows jiu-jitsu.
This
kid doesn't.
This is one of my best students. He could take this kid out. No problem.
Yeah.
No problem. Easy.
Yeah.
But he won't engage.
Yes.
Why? Because he doesn't know when it's okay. So we talked.
Yeah.
And I asked him, how many of you are there in the world? He goes, there's one. That's right. So that makes you a little special. That means you get to draw your circle. You get to draw your line in the sand and say anything you want, but you don't cross this line.
Yeah.
I said, when someone crosses that line and a fight pursues between two boys, just a fight, we're just talking about a fight. When the loser goes home, his mama cries. The next time a little boy picks a fight with you, you draw your line in the sand and say, you're not making my mama cry today.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it's really good that you said that, man, because that resonates. Nobody likes to see their mom cry. You start fighting if you think your mom's gonna cry.
Yes,
it's a good way to approach it.
Teach them when it's okay.
But Mike, here's the problem.
Because they don't know.
Let me tell you something. We had our Revolutionary War. We won freedom for the country or whatever.
Yes.
And ever since then, we've been trying to go around and get other people to be free like us.
Yes.
But you cannot get somebody else to do that. You can't. It's very difficult to get somebody to that level. Do you understand? To where they will engage if they don't want to. What's going on all around the world today? If people want their freedom, they have to rise up and get it. They have to fight for it. They have to sacrifice themselves. They have to arrive at the conclusion that they want it by themselves. And sometimes it's frustrating for us because thank God we're a little spoiled over here. We have a lot of freedom. And so we don't understand why wouldn't everybody want to live like this? Why wouldn't everybody want to be able to go start their own business or get their own job or do whatever? But and sometimes they do, but sometimes their society set up so much that they don't even know what's possible. And so that it's not worth it to them. Their life is okay. That it's not worth it to them to go out and maybe put their life on the line. Mike, it doesn't take that many before you can arouse a whole nation to rise up.
They're waiting for that great leader to give them permission.
But the only way the great leader comes up is if he had adversity. Do you understand?
That's what jiu-jitsu is adversity.
It is adversity.
We take all this adversity, that's a lifetime worth of adversity, and we smash it into a couple hours. And then we throw people into this and we see what comes out on the other end. And most of the time, what comes out on the other end is something better that went into the system. Here's all I'm saying. We try it and we collect the data. We see, is there a better product that's coming out of these school systems with martial arts than without? And we just go by the data. We learn how to do math. Let's just do the numbers and see what happens.
You should research China and Japan and see what they teach in schools. I know it's not jiu-jitsu, but it'll be kung fu or karate, whatever they teach over in the Asian countries.
But what's the mindset they teach? Because what's the political gagging? What are they allowed? Do they have freedom of speech to go along with that? Are they taught in the martial arts class to exercise these freedoms while they're learning how to defend themselves? See, these are all data points that you need. So if they're taught to live like a communist and think like a communist, then the data is not going to be the same as if you did it in a school here.
Well, you got a point, man. But I mean,
all I'm saying is let's do the experiment and do the numbers.
The physical techniques are one thing, you know what I mean, and they have that. But I mean, the problem is if you got 100 kids in there, you teach them all jiu-jitsu, now they all know jiu-jitsu. There's still going to be some kids who are more talented and better at it, and those kids are going to be bullies.
No, just because they're better don't necessarily mean bullies.
But 10% will become bullies.
But the thing is the kids that know this guy can beat me up. He beat me up in class, so he's a bully. But I got 10 friends that know jiu-jitsu too.
Let me tell you something. There's bullies in jiu-jitsu. there's bullies in jiu-jitsu. You know bullies in jiu-jitsu. You understand?
But
everybody in there knows jiu-jitsu.
But they get dealt with because when I roll with one of the bullies that just did something to one of my buddies, that choke's a little tighter. They know.
But at your level, you don't have to run into too many bullies anymore at your level. But the problem is at the lower levels, it's very common. Thank you, sir. And that's all. That's my point. I mean, hey, look, if you want to go on a crusade, and try to get jiu-jitsu in the schools, hey man, go to it. I mean, you might inspire everybody to train jiu-jitsu.
I'm saying that we should do the math. We should do the experiment and see what happens.
To me, jiu-jitsu is the great equalizer. And that's what you teach the kids who get bullied.
You could use it as a tool to build a great society.
Well,
everything that's taught
which
and
one
learned.
Was the great society again?
We're going to build a greater one.
Which one was the great one? We have a great society.
It is a great society, but I think you can use it to build a greater society. Toughness is what
you
builds
want it to be like
societies.
Sparta. You think Sparta is a great society?
We don't have to go that hardcore, no. But it seems to me that there was something a little brighter and shinier about America when the men were tougher.
There's tough guys right now in the world, bro. You know some of the toughest ones, man. I'm telling you, brother.
But they're being quiet. We need them to speak up. We need to hear their voices.
They'll speak up, man. They will. I mean, they do. But brother, no matter what problems you solve, Mike, there's going to be another great problem.
And I look forward to them. You know what I mean? That's how I look at it as a challenge. Just like jiu-jitsu. I learned jiu-jitsu just like you always wanted to learn the guitar after getting your black belt. Right. I want to fix some issues with society, man.
Of course, man. I mean, and I applaud you for that, man. I mean, I hope you go do it, man. But just make sure
you don't step on freedoms and rights on your way to
No, I'm excited, man. And you're in Sand Springs. If you taught those kids that, it'd be interesting because you got to start where you're at. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You don't have to start in the whole nation.
No, we just need to.
You start in your community.
Try it somewhere and see how it works.
To me, the problem with bullying is a little bit more. It's not as simplistic as teaching everybody jiu-jitsu. Of course, jiu-jitsu is so excellent on so many levels. About so many, teaches you so much. But there's other things going on, man. That jiu-jitsu is not the. You can't solve that problem, man.
I don't think it'll solve all our problems, but I'm just curious. What would a society of martial arts build together? A society of all martial artists. What would they do? I'm not talking about Spartan warriors that want to go out. Yeah. I'm just talking about just martial artists. You know the diversity I'm talking about because you've been in it long enough.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Jiu-jitsu, it's funny, bro. I mean, it does give you so much. But other things, don't forget, man, other people, guitar playing, for instance, gives people very similar feelings. Like anytime you master something, you get very proficient at something, I think it gives you it's really what it's about. It's a confidence. Jiu-jitsu teaches you to believe in yourself. It's a very rapid way to be able to believe in yourself. It gives you a lot of adversity. You overcome the adversity. And so you have some very personal examples of overcoming it. And but you can get that in a lot of different ways. Basketball, sport, any sport, in football, guitar playing. I mean, gymnastics. Even chess. There's lots of ways you can go about gaining proficiency. Jiu-jitsu is, of course, very special because you get that physical.
You learn confidence, how to defend yourself.
Yeah.
And let's not forget, this is a nation with the Second Amendment, and we don't want cowards with guns.
Yeah.
You need to learn to defend yourself. And that doesn't mean just shoot. You need to learn to defend yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough, man. We'll see what's going on. Next topic, man. Next topic.
All right.
What are we talking about here? What time is it? Oh, man. Is it dinner time yet?
Is it time to wrap up?
Oh, man.
Hey, guys.
We got 30 minutes. Let's talk about something else.
Let's talk about something else.
Ronnie, can you hear me okay with this? Give me a thumbs up in there. Can you hear me? It's good?
What's the future hold for Clinch Martial Arts, man?
For Clinch Martial Arts, man, we had 38 people on the mat tonight, man. It was crazy. That's like the most people I had in there for a class, man. We've had more in there for seminars, but so it's exciting, man. We have a year left on our lease, a little bit less than a year, and we have to expand, man. We got to get bigger. So I'm either going to lease a new location. I really want to buy a new location, but it's hard, finding a good spot, man, good piece of property. that has it's close enough to everybody where you have the drive by traffic and stuff like that. So plus it's a big commitment, man. Buying a place versus leasing, but it's growing, man. It's crazy. So I think in the next year or two, I might extend this lease for like to December of 2016, and then try to plan on having a place January 17, hopefully.
So other than just getting a bigger building, where are you wanting your martial arts program to go? What do you want to add?
I'm so excited, man. Like our friend Omar French, man. He's having his 2nd year anniversary soon. He's going to bring out Joao Miao, who's a big stud, man.
Monster.
Yeah. And so I admire him. He's brought out several of those that level, and I want to bring out more guys. My thing is like, if I could bring Jean-Jacques out 3 times a year, I would do that. But he's so busy. But
how about bringing in some of your brown belts every now and then? Just
no, of course, man. I would love to. My brown belts are getting so talented now, man, and so proficient. It's really great to watch that, man. I'm really excited for all you guys. Several of you guys have your own place now, and it's cool when I come over there and I see the students you've taught who I've never seen before, and see how tough they get in a very short period of time. It reminds me of when we started. You know what I mean? It's like, and very fast, because they only have you guys to roll with. Like, that's it. Like, you might roll with the same guy 3 times in one night. Like I can't even roll with anybody once now. Yeah. But back in the day, we could roll 3 times a piece with all you guys. You know what I mean?
I'm just doing rounds with my students. Yeah. I'm like so tired after class.
That's so funny. Vernon posted something the other day, man, and he had all these big guys in his noon class or whatever. I started laughing because that's
ridiculous how big these guys are.
Yeah. Why are these big guys need to learn jiu-jitsu, man?
It's a little man sport, and we have monsters.
We just need to start charging by the pound on that. But yeah, man. When we get a bigger facility that's more like, we want to have camps too. I want to have lots of camps. We had our first kids camp, man, a spring break camp a few months ago, and it worked out. It wasn't bad. I learned a lot, but it's really, we need a better venue. We need a place where the kids can sit down and just kind of, maybe eat or just sit down and be. You can't do jiu-jitsu for, although we both have, for 3.5 hours straight. But if you're a kid, it's different, But so I want to do more camps. I want to get a better facility. I want to get more world-class guys out here. I want to make sure I have Jean-Jacques out for, I would like to just make it certain date every year. He's so busy though, man. It's tough. But
I get asked. I don't know why people don't ask you.
Yeah.
It's like people feel more comfortable asking certain questions when they go to the lieutenants or whatever. They come, Are you going to go to Worlds again as black belt?
Man, I would love to. This Meta Morris challenge just came up. People were tagging me and stuff like that. I was like, man, you should do it. But it's like, if I could train for it, I would love to do it, man. Because I really feel my skill level's out there. But you got to understand, Mike, like the people who are going to Worlds, if you want to go and win or do well, you can't train 3 days a week for you. These guys are training like Lions. Those guys are training literally 3 times a day.
We would need a plan. But look, you own a jiu-jitsu gym. You have 4 or 5 brown belts that own jiu-jitsu gyms.
Yeah,
we would have to sit down and come up with a plan.
No, man, I've thought about it.
I would rather see you, honestly, Metamoris or Abu Dhabi, way more than Worlds.
No, man, well, I would love to compete anywhere at a high level, and it's hard. I thought about, like, for me, like, the only time I really feel comfortable doing it is, like, when the time I got to go to Brazil, train at Alliance, or if I could train at Jean-Jacques for a month, or 6 weeks, something like that, because you got to go where those monsters are. You know what I mean? It's like, if you're the baddest guy in the room, if you go to the Worlds, it's going to be very difficult. I really admire this. There's several guys that have won the Worlds recently who had their own facility, had their own school. They had to run their own school, and they still do well at the competitions. I'm talking about guys like Cobrinha, Marcelo Garcia, Rafa Mendez. There's several guys that actually run a school, run an academy. Lucas Sleppery has his own academy now. A lot of these guys from Alliance, but Cyborg, Galvao, these guys running. People don't understand what's involved in that. Like, you're really no longer really training for you. It's hard for you to train. You're like, you have to watch your students.
We need to pick, and I've been thinking about this for a while. There's a few of us that love this. and we're all teachers and we're all busy and we're all
Yeah.
we need to pick a day that's ours.
Yeah.
Even if it's just once a month, we need to pick a day that's ours
Yeah.
and just hang out
Like-
for an hour or two and
like,
beat the
man,
crap out of each other.
Like, man, we need to pick a day where we get a bunch of tough guys in the room. We all just beat the shit out of
Hey,
each other.
you can talk yourself out of it, but
Rodney, that's a young man talking right there. That's a young man talking.
The smile on your face would be worth it afterwards.
Oh man, I mean, I love to get to train with all my guys. I mean, people don't understand the joy you get when you become good at something, and then you face somebody who's better than you. It's such a great, I always laugh when I'm rolling with anybody, but especially with the guys that are better than me, because it's like, wow, it's a new puzzle you have to figure out. You know what I mean? It's like you thought you had something, and then they're like, oh man, I guess it's not as good as you got to work on it. So it's a challenge, that challenge, man. And I think that's what, to speak to our earlier conversation, that's what's kind of missing. Is like the willingness to accept a challenge. You know what I mean? Because
we need to teach kids, and they have it, but we beat it out of them for some reason. This is a statistic we know.
Yeah.
Kids are not afraid to fail when they're younger.
Right.
They'll just give it a try.
Yeah.
They'll just try. But by the time they get out of these school systems, not just ours, a lot of that's gone.
Yeah.
And people are scared to fail, so they leave a lot of their ideas.
Yeah, man. I mean, Kenneth Robinson said this in his thing. It's like, if you ask a bunch of kindergartens who here can draw, everybody, their hand goes up. But if you go ask it again in third grade or something like this, it's like, who here can draw? It's like only 3 people. And it's like,
right.
So it's like, oh man, everybody can draw. You know what I mean? But what is it about life and society that kind of,
That's the questions we need to find answers to.
Yeah.
People need to be like, we need to go to these smart people.
Yeah.
Stephen Hawkins, figure this out for us. It'll help society.
Yeah.
Collect the data, figure it out.
Yeah.
They can. It's just designating the people to do that.
Yeah.
And we realize, and we're learning how to collect data, and people are all scared, and it's in politics. How much data should be out there? Should we have access back to it? But why it's out there, people are studying it, and it's amazing what they're learning about us from it. It's crazy what they're figuring out. We're a little bit more predictable than we originally thought.
Yeah. No, I would agree with that, and it is exciting, man. So it's an exciting time, man. It's like we had a lot of problems, like climate, the climate change. I think is a big problem now. But
I have faith. I'm an optimist. We're going to figure this stuff out.
No, we will figure it out, man.
But we have to have these discussions to do it. People have to be talking about it.
Yeah, man. Back in the 70s, they had a big problem with they had an oil and gas embargo. So, like, man, we're both too young really to remember, but because we were kids. But they used to have people would be a long line for gas.
Yeah,
like
my dad's told me those stories.
Yeah. I mean, like, because there wasn't any oil. They had embargo. All those Middle East countries, and so, and then oil is a finite resource. And so back in the 70s. There's a great talk with Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins, the motivational speaker, but he used to have these things, they call them power talks. It's kind of like what we're doing here.
Right.
A little less power, but he interviewed the guy, different kind of power.
Yeah, different kind of power.
But he interviewed several great, people. But one of the guys he interviewed was a guy named Paul Zane. I think his name is Pilzer. I think it's Pilzer. But he was an economist. And it was a great conversation, man, because they talked about so basically in the early 70s, I think it was either the Vatican or the UN or somebody, they commissioned somebody to say, look, how much oil do we have left? We know we're running out of oil. We know, they thought they were going to hit the peak, and after they hit the peak, it's all downhill. You understand? It's going to run out. It's going to get more. So this is where people started talking about conservation, and some people started talking about, really getting hot on electric vehicles.
We don't make it.
Yeah,
the Earth does.
But so what happens was, I think it was 72, and I said, well, we got this much. We got like 40 years of oil left. 40 years, and that's it. And so then 10 years later, they go back to the same people. And I say, okay, man, it's been 10 years. And forgive me, guys, the numbers are not exactly correct, but this is the gist of the conversation. But I highly recommend you check it. It's old. It's like 15, 20 years old, but it's a great conversation. But he's like, so they go back to the same commission 10 years later. Say, okay, so now we have 30 years of oil left. He said, well, it's not quite. You have 50 years of oil. And they say, hey, what are you talking about? You said we only had 40 years, and now we have. He said, well, 10 years ago, we only drilled down this to this depth. Now we can drill down to this depth. And 10 years ago, cars, you can only get this many miles to the gallon. Well, in 79, 80, they came out with a fuel injector. So now you doubled your mileage. So if you doubled your mileage, you essentially doubled the amount of oil because you can drive, we don't care how much, he said, we don't care how much oil we have.
Take into account.
Yeah, all these
technology.
little technology things that happens. And so it's the same thing in 30 years. I mean, now we got motors that will run for miles and miles and miles,
Yeah,
so.
This is a huge topic in the hot rod industry with the people that are admitting that climate change might be real.
Yeah.
What's that leave NASCAR and
Right, these type of
NHRA,
things.
just guys that like to drive around on Harleys? I mean, should we give those up, or if everything else at mainstream goes more green, will we be able to keep those luxuries? So that's a big, scary topic. Right
It is, man. But everything evolves, and that industry is going to evolve. And of course, there'll always be the hardcore guys that really like, that was the golden era. Like, everything has its golden era, and then it goes on and something else has its golden era. But everything evolves. But the point what I was making was, like, every generation has a huge problem, several huge problems that they're faced with, and
racism back.
Racism. We still exist. You know what I mean? And stuff like that.
We're working some big issues here in America in our short 200 years.
Yeah, man, we have, man, and some we haven't dealt with so good, and we're still dealing with the ramifications of it.
I think the biggest reason, and I'm gonna go back to martial arts with more people, is the people I can sit down and talk to that are so left or right wing, but if they're martial artists, we don't get into a fight. I don't know if it's because we know it might take a while.
Well, it depends on the martial artist.
But we'll sit down and we'll discuss, and we don't agree at all.
Yeah.
And what we might even get loud, but it doesn't turn violent, doesn't get stupid, doesn't turn into name calling, and it's usually a little productive, but it's never like when you talk to somebody who's not. It's just a completely different.
No, man, because we roll with each other, and it's like you respect the guy, and that's the thing. That's what it's all. That's about a mutual respect, is what it is.
Martial arts teaches you to respect your fellow man.
Of course, man, and so and that's a problem I think with politics, but it's probably always going to be a problem, But in politics, you're always going to have politics. Anytime you deal with more than one other person, there's going to be politics involved, man. So it's a necessary evil, I guess you'd call it, but. That's another thing about what's great about jiu-jitsu. Is all about solving problems in a educated way,
Yes.
in a systematic way, and so that's what's that's one thing. If you taught everybody jiu-jitsu, at least they could it's another. It's like, kind of like, I don't want to say it's like a scientific method, but it's similar. You know what I mean? It's like you're having a problem, you keep getting choked out. You're like, man, I keep getting choked out. You talk to your coach. It's like, coach, like, this guy keeps choking me out. I was like, okay, well, show me exactly what's happening. Okay, well, and if he tells you, you're gonna say, well, what do you think you should do? You got to figure out where you're messing up. So that would be good to teach everybody that. But oh man, hold on, let me check the time here. We might be going out here. Oh man, let me see what's going on here. Oh, we got 15 minutes. Rodney, you okay in there, man? We're good. My researcher, my engineer, this guy.
Rodney.
How about Rodney Carroll, dude? That guy's unbelievable,
awesome dude, man.
Dude, this guy's unbelievable, man.
I walk into his office and said, hey, I know you're the busiest guy on the planet, but you want to do a podcast with me? I can't pay you nothing, but you want to hang out? He's like,
and he sets everything up, like the studio, cameras.
Yeah, he's an awesome.
No, man,
dude,
he is a busy guy. And he calls me once a week and says, hey, man, do you need me to do anything for you? It's like, no, well, dude, come on, man.
And congratulations on the blue belt, by the way.
Hey, man.
Congratulations out there.
Yeah, man, this is another inspirational story, this guy, man. His son, Davin, trains really hard and stuff like that. He's a young man, and I don't even think Rodney was going to train, but sometimes you get into a place, just an environment. Man, Dan Gable has a great. You
want to be a part of it, man.
Yeah.
You see greatness in people.
If you guys get a chance, I gotta find this and we gotta put it. Man, this needs to be required viewing for everybody. But Dan Gable, man, Dan Gable's like to wrestling what, like, I don't know, like Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods, and whoever else, Joe Montana, all put together. That's what Dan Gable.
Jaw kicks and Gracie.
Yeah. He's this of wrestling, okay? And he tells a great story one time, man. I wish I could. I looked for this. It was a podcast on Flow Wrestling, man. These guys, if you go to flowwrestling.org, man, this thing is unbelievable. They do a great job with wrestling. They do for wrestling. Somebody should do that with jiu-jitsu, man, because they do such a great job. But anyway, they did an interview with him, and he talks about He wrestled for Iowa State in college, and he coached Iowa, University of Iowa, and to a bunch of championships. When he won the Olympics in 1972, nobody even scored a point on him. Nobody even scored a point. You understand? He didn't just lose. Nobody scored a point on him. I mean, it doesn't even get enough. People don't understand what a mind-blowing feat that was. It happened in 72. That's when they had the Munich massacre. So all those people died in
oh man.
Yeah. I think it gets overshadowed a lot by that tragedy. But it's so unbelievable. But anyway, he tells a story one time that they were training for the Olympics or the World Championships or whatever, and he had a guy come and live with him who wants to join the team. And this guy had never won anything of significance in high school, college, nothing. He's just a B-level, C-level guy. But he happened to move in with Dan Gable, and now he's training with all these guys. And he said, it's such a great story. But anyway, man, the guy, he loses at the Olympic trials, or maybe it's the world team trials or whatever. And they have several trials or whatever for this competition, whatever it was. And he goes to Gable and he says, man, what should I do? What should I do? And Gable says, well, get your running shoes. He's like, get your running shoes. And let's, this is like right the day it happened, like so crazy. Anyway, the guy goes on and he ends up getting like silver medal at the Olympics. So, something ridiculous for a guy who never done anything. And Gable, he puts it so well, man. It's almost like poetry. He's like, here's a guy who nobody really expected to do anything, but he just got in the right kind of environment around the right kind of people. And this is what you talked about earlier, with all these different kids, and some kids are weird and you just want to give those kids drugs. But if you just put him in the right environment, he could just do something incredible. And he said he only lost to the guy who was like a legendary Russian guy. And he said, we got his second place silver medal, world class. He developed a world class guy. And Gable ended the talk and he's like, man, he's like, how many people are we missing? How many people are we missing that could do this?
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of like what you're talking about.
I tell everybody every day, you need two things. You need to learn to work hard, and then you need to find what you're passionate about.
Dang.
If you have a work ethic and a passion, you'll be unstoppable.
That's true, bro.
But
that's the truth.
As a society, I think we could help people do a better job at finding that passion, is all I'm saying. We don't have to drastically alter everything we do. We just need to make a little bit of changes to keep some people from falling through the cracks. Yeah. Anything we do is going to just better. How many Einsteins do we lose?
Yeah.
I mean, how many Stephen Hawkins fall through the cracks every day because they don't have the money to go to school? You know what I mean? Education, free education all the way across the board is to me the number one topic in the world right now, because an educated society just does better.
Right. Yeah. I know we were wrapping it up, man, but man, even in Sparta, man, you have these bad dudes, but you have the slugs too, man.
You gotta have balance. You gotta find that balance.
I know, but I'm saying, man, it's like it's hard, man. Because Mike, what we do is hard. Hard work is hard. Starting a business is hard. Anything of merit is difficult. And Jim Rohn Jim Rohn's a motivational speaker. I think he's passed away now too, but he has a great thing too. He says, man, it's actually the things you need to do to make a lot of money. They're easy to do, but they're easier not to do. You understand? And so sometimes we don't do them just because it's just the easier way to do it. It's not to do it.
I get what you're saying. Not everybody's born with that drive.
Yeah.
But
if you can develop that and put it in a bottle, we'll be rich, man.
Some people.
Is that what's in that bottle you're drinking, man?
Man,
it's drive.
This is some
magic. Is that the name of that?
This is some magic stuff that Rodney gave me.
Magic. It's magic drive.
I just think we could do a better job. And if I think we did a better job at helping these people figure out what they love to do, then maybe more people would find that drive inside of them. Because I think life has a tendency, if you fall through the cracks, to beat you down and take that drive away from you. I've seen some guys that were the hardest working dudes in the world that never amounted to nothing, and they're giving up now. They're laying down.
But Mike, you have to go through that. A lot of times you develop the drive through that. That's not the end. That's the beginning. You understand?
When we're talking to individuals, I completely agree. People are going to fall the wayside.
Yes. Let me tell you something on a personal note. How many times have you called me in the last year? How many times have you called me and say,
tough,
Coach,
man, it gets tough.
yeah, say, man, I'm about ready to throw in a towel. And I said,
I
Mike,
train martial arts, and I have great people that I can lean on, and that's you don't have to necessarily be a martial artist, but you've got to find that thing that drives you to work hard.
And Mike, that's a big thing what you just said. Sometimes I don't think it's necessarily that people need more toughness or more this, but if they had somebody that they could they can count on to be there when they fall. You know what I mean? It makes it so much easier. Like, man, I was able to start my own business only because, I have great women in my life. My girlfriend, my mother, I have an aunt. I mean, like, if it wasn't for these people, I'd be still in my car.
If it wasn't for my wife right now, Melissa, who is coaching for me right now, this wouldn't be happening right now.
And that alone gives you it's like I can do anything I want because, no matter how far I fall, the people are still there to pick you up. And these are people, bro, that counseled me not to start my own business. But they don't say, look, we told you you were going to be broke. They say, what can I do to help? You know what I mean? If you ever need it. So, we need, the world needs more of that. You know what I mean?
There's something that gives me almost a sense of security knowing that I have a warrior princess standing behind me.
Yeah, it's
you know
good,
what I mean?
bro.
She's not just your typical run-of-the-mill chick, is she?
No, bro, it feels. Let me tell you something, bro. When you stand in a room with Jean-Jacques Machado, say you're competing in the Worlds, if you look up and see Jean-Jacques Machado's in your corner, you're like, yeah, I'm about to go to work here, man. Because, I mean, one thing is it gives you a sense of confidence, but another thing it gives you is like you don't want to let that person down. Like, this is a person that's like, man, I'm not going to let my coach down.
I always take a mental picture sometime during the locker room when there's a competition of your face. And that I hold that a little bit inside me when I'm fighting because, dude, you're the one. I wouldn't be there. I wouldn't have been in that cage.
It feels good to know that. Remember the people that believe in you. You know what I mean? Your dad, your parents.
It rewards them when you do well.
Yeah.
Because they know that all their hard work they put into you meant something.
Yeah, man. So it's great, man. Anytime a tragedy happens anywhere in the world, it's great to see all the donations pour in. I mean, like we live in Oklahoma, and so several times we have tornadoes. Man, it's crazy. Like how many people they're ready to drive down there.
We've done that. Like, Clinch families got together and done that.
Definitely, man. It's like and so this is in the world. Like people say, man, society's this and well, man, society's great. Society's as great as it's ever been.
We can't ruin our image of what life is like and as great as it's become by letting all the problems we do have overshadow us. But at the same time, we can't, we've got to.
No, we can always be better.
We can always be better.
We're
America. We should strive to be a world leader.
So, listen, we got like 8 minutes left, and I got to get it. But listen, I want you to tell me your plan of getting jiu-jitsu in the school. What would that even look like? How would you go about doing that?
The first thing we have to do is educate people, and I figure this podcast is one way to get my ideas out there. Mm-hmm. Physical education centers has dropped in this country. JFK put out a great video back when he was president.
Oh, yeah, I saw this on Facebook. All those guys.
It's true. Those people are your future builders, your future soldiers, your future warriors. Look,
now our video is like PlayStation.
Hey, and I'm not saying that video gamers don't have their place in society, especially in future technology and military, that will probably have remote control tanks. But you're never going to not need young, strong, brave men.
Yeah.
You need to be able to produce strong, young, brave men. You have to survive. Plus, this society has the right to bear arms. We just have to educate. You have to learn to protect yourself because we need to strip fear. We have a republic. A scared populace doesn't do us any good. We need to instill courage and bravery in these young people to give them the strength they need to succeed.
Oh, I understand. So when you say we need to educate people, which people are you talking about? Are you talking about the people that are running the schools? That's what I think. If you want to get jiu-jitsu in schools, you got to talk to the principal, the school administrator,
to school counselors, and working on getting meetings with people.
Yeah.
It's just kind of a slow process. Plus, I'm learning on who to talk to, how to talk to them. I'm still acquiring data. There's data points out there. Scientific method teaches us once you ask a question, first thing you want to do is how much data is already collected, how much work's already been done for this.
Right.
And like you said, other countries have martial arts in schools, so I'm looking for data points to take in. These are teachers. I need to show them some facts. I need to show them some stuff.
Right.
I need to take stories about Little Weems and all of his
That's
great
a good story.
achievements. I need to show them this is what it does. Now, I also maybe have to be able to admit that maybe it's not for everybody. But I think
You said it was for everybody.
But well,
you
look,
just right.
No,
Did
no,
you
no,
say
no.
that earlier, man?
I said earlier it's not necessarily for everybody,
Right.
but everybody should
needs
have
it.
a basic understanding of self-defense. They need to have that understanding. Sometimes you have to do something you don't want to do.
Yeah.
But we also ought to recognize the fact while we're doing this, if it's going to be a part of the education system, to find those John Jock Machados, those Hicks and Gracies, and tell them this is what you should do for a living.
Yeah.
This is where you should go.
Yeah. So what would that look like if you're gonna start this and you went to the principal and you went to the superintendent, that's the word I was looking for, but and they said, okay, Mike, let's do it. What would it look like?
First thing I would do is I would raise the standards in PE. Kids from kindergarten through middle school are supposed to do PE, I think, every day.
Yeah.
And then it starts dropping off as you get older. And that's fine. Once they've learned certain things, that part of
Make
our
them go
mind,
outside and play.
well, they've learned that physical thing that you learned, if you learn how to do jiu-jitsu, if you learn how to play football, when you learn that physical education, it's the last part, even in Alzheimer's patients, to go away.
Yeah,
We
interesting.
retain our physical education more than anything else in our minds and our memory. So it's the most important because people who learn more about their bodies get along better as they get older.
Okay, so that's step one. So how do we go about doing that? Say,
Okay, you increase the physical education standards back to where they were. We use research and data, and as we're doing that, we monitor to see how we need to change the data, and then we add jiu-jitsu twice a week into the curriculum.
So, but let me ask you this: when you say we're going to raise the standards, it's like saying we're going to raise the test scores. You got to score higher on tests. That's how you're going to test it. I understand that, but how are you going to make it? How are you going to say, hey, at the end of school every day, instead of getting out at 2:30, we're going to get out at 3 with 30 minutes of running around? Are you going to increase recess for longer?
Okay, I have a whole workout program, and I actually called my old PE teacher because when I was a kid, we actually had standards.
Yeah.
We knew how to do push-ups, we knew how to do sit-ups. The kids that come into my jiu-jitsu class, I almost have to do PE for a couple weeks before I can teach them jiu-jitsu.
That's a good idea, too,
I'm actually thinking about adding PE to my school because some of these kids, they need to be able to do certain movements before I can teach them certain things.
It's true. Maybe we should add the PE, man.
I'm thinking about adding and
push-ups,
leading by
squats,
example. Yes.
pull-ups.
Yes.
Man, let me tell you something.
The same stuff that we had to do as kids, that needs to be put back into the schools, and these kids need to know how to use their body, and it needs to be in shape.
Kenneth Robinson, who you saw the TED Talk on, he wrote a book called The Spark, and in his book he's talking about how physicality makes grades go up. So there's certain schools.
There's already data that I've been looking into.
You have to get that book from the library, man, or maybe an audio book or something like that. But it's I think it's called The Spark. I have to check it out. But anyway, so get the kids more in shape.
Yeah, we need to raise the physical standards in the schools, nationwide.
You don't think they should just do jiu-jitsu and that will get them in shape?
Like I said,
Some
of these kids are so out of shape.
What are you teaching them? You're teaching them, what is it called? A crackhead control? They got to be able to touch their head behind their leg behind their head.
Basic, and I'm not trying to drink the Kool-Aid, but I think just basic Gracie defensive tactics stuff. Basic stuff. They don't have to be black belts in jiu-jitsu.
Right.
They just need to understand. They need to be taught, when is it okay to defend myself, and how do I do it?
Yeah.
I remember being told once, just punch this guy in the nose. Can you imagine a fighter coming in? I want to fight. Okay, just go punch him in the nose. I'll call you in a couple of weeks when your fight's ready. Think about it. That's insane. You don't just tell a kid to go punch a kid in the nose.
No, it's scary. When they had that documentary about bullies recently. I think it's called Bully, but it was a really good documentary. But and this is very common. Like the kids getting bullied. They tell the parents. This happened to me at school. I got beat up on the bus, and the parent says, "Well, why don't you just defend yourself?" It's like the kid would do it if he knew. If he knew that he had the skills and he had the okay to do it, he would do it. You know what I mean? But
I also think that it's important to teach. We have to be careful because we don't want to be we don't want to be accused of indoctrinating people. But there's a basic warrior's code, and it's changed in different things. I think we can agree as intelligent adults that we should teach certain principle. You should defend the weak. If you have the ability and the strength, you should defend the weak. Because if we teach kids that it's not just okay to defend themselves, it's okay to defend people that are weaker than you. Bullies we'll take care of the bullies.
Sparta will get rid of the weak, man. Why don't we just get rid of the weak? I'm just kidding, man.
Man, because they might be geniuses.
That's right.
They might be the next Einstein.
They might grow up to be Hicks and Gracie.
And it's up to us that have the ability to make sure that they become who they need to be.
All right, man. Well, you need to get your plan together, man.
Well, this was step one right
get
here.
your plan
we got to
together, man.
We got to get the word out.
You got to get the word out? All right, man. We better leave it there. This is a good talk, man. This is a good talk. I need to shake your hand, dude. This is not bad. Rodney's got this big dinner table here, man. With banquet table right here, man. We need a few more people on this side, but yeah, man. So when are you putting this out, man? When are you putting this out?
We're going to get with everybody. We also need to start. Hey, if you watch this video, we'll put a number at the bottom, and you are like, say, a chiropractor, and you already sponsor a fighter. This is going to be getting out to the martial arts community, and we're going to be looking for sponsors pretty soon. And I can think of all kinds of companies that would benefit sponsoring this kind of a podcast.
Oh yeah, definitely, man. Who's next guest, man? Who's some of your dream guests, man? You gonna have Jean-Jacques on here? Maybe we have Jean-Jacques on here.
It'd be awesome to have Jean-Jacques on here. I've heard some great interviews, and I'd like to listen to all those, so I don't ask him the same stuff that we've already got.
Man. Ask him the same stuff.
Some stuff, I like to just ask him, hey, how do I tap a guy out from side control with just pressure?
I ask him every time I see him. I was like, hey man, how I get out of side mount? I got him out. No, because every time he tells me, it's like
something different. He adds something.
Like, no, it's this different way he tells me. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get out of the side mount now.
There's some amazing people. We have amazing guys in Clinch. There's some amazing guys out of Triton.
Yeah, man. You know what you should do, bro? You should think about interviewing maybe a high-level education person, like a teacher or superintendent. Or
Pat Green's on the top of my list.
Be a good one, man.
He's on the top of my list,
yeah.
And he's one of the guys I've reached out to about this, going, hey, can you help me? Where should I go? Who should I talk to?
Yeah, it's funny though when I talk to teachers. I'm a big fan of Jeffrey Canada. He's a guy in New York. I don't know if I ever made you watch a video of his, but he's a great guy. Very on par to me, like Kenneth Robbins. This inspirational, motivational guy, unbelievable guy. And when I talk to some of my friends who are teachers, and I bring up education, it's funny because it's kind of like we don't know anything about what they're doing. We think we do. You know what I mean? But these guys are professional teachers. They went to school to teach. They're doing the job as best they can. Well, and we're going to come in and say, man, you know what? Why aren't you guys doing this?
Well, we're teachers too, but in a different physical.
But it's kind of like somebody coming in and say, hey, man, why don't you guys teach jiu-jitsu this way? It's like, what do you know about it, dude?
I don't think, like, when we teach you English or when we teach you math, I don't think anybody's saying that we're not teaching these things properly. I think the issue is that the importance. Somewhere Shakespeare was in somebody's English class, and half the Beatles was in some guy's music class. And they didn't think they had any talent at all to be musicians.
Yeah, so funny.
We need to, what we need to do a better job at isn't how we educate, but what we value and finding what people are good at and helping guide them towards their talents.
Maybe what you can do, bro, is start your own charter school, and part of your curriculum will be jiu-jitsu. You can just start your own school. I'm saying serious.
To collect data.
You get. I had a friend of mine that was going to do this one time. This is before jiu-jitsu. I wonder why I have my friend like that. I need to call him.
Private school is what
like a private school. You get the best math guys in town. You get the best English guys in town. You get the best, and you be the best jiu-jitsu guy. It's like, look, this is the curriculum. You know what I mean? And then see where it takes you. I'll look at the wheels turning. All right, hey man, let's get out of here. Let's sign off.
Guys, I'd like to thank you for listening to me and Christian ramble on about some of our views in life. And I'd like to give out a big thanks to Rodney Carroll, to my coach, Christian Derr, for coming on the show.
Thank you, sir.
And the whole Clinch Army, guys, the whole Clinch Army.
I look forward to listening to some of the future guests, man. Maybe you have me on again in a couple of years.
Couple of years. I'll probably have you on in a couple months.
Oh, that sounds even better. We'll tag team it.